prison to the state. Delegating anything you want to use, we gonna snatch that from you. 1360. Oh no, public nuisance dangers to the public health. 36601. Following conditions especially declare public nuisance dangerous to the public health. Any condition or place in populous areas that constitute a breeding place for flies, rodents, mosquitoes, and other insects that are capable of carrying and transmitting diseases causing organisms to many people or persons. Any conditions or place that constitutes a feral colony or honeybee that is not currently maintained by a beekeeper and that poses a health or safety hazard to the public. Any spoiled, contained food or drink intended for human consumption. Any restaurant, marketplace, bakery, or other place or business, or any vehicle where food is prepared, packages, stored, sold, or served to the public that is constantly maintained in a sanitary condition. Any place, condition, or building that is controlled or operated government agency or and that is not maintained in a sanitary condition. All sewer, human excrements, sewer waste, garbage, or other organic waste disposed, stored, discharged, or exposed so as to be potentially instrument to or a medium to transmit of diseases or believed to be like rodents and shit. Any vehicles or containers that is used in the transmission of garbage, human excrement, or organic material and that is defected and allows leakage or spillage or of contents. The presence of escrow parasites such as bed bugs, lice, mice, or others in place where sleeping accommodations are offered to the public. The maintenance of any overflow septic tank or crescent that contains of which by the accessibility of the flies. The pollution of contamination of any domestic water, like when the carb hit that or that radiation. The use of the so-called common drinking cup used for drinking purposes by more than one person. The paragraph does not apply to receptacles properly washed and sanitized after each serving. The presence of common towels for use for public in any septic place properly washed and sanitized building or park of buildings that are in filthy conditions and that may endanger the health of a person living in the vicinity, spitting or urinating next walking on a public building or walk or walls on a public building or buildings used for public assemblage or buildings used for manufacturing or industry purposes or on the floors or platforms or part of the railroad or other public conveyances. The use of the contents of privies seized or septic tanks to use a sewage plant to blah 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 blah. The maintenance of public assemblage places provided adequate sanitation blah 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 blah. Hotels, tourist courts, lounging establishments that are not kept in clean sanitary conditions or for which suitable adequate toilet facilities are not provided. The storage, collection, transportation, disposal, or reclamation of garbage, trash, rubbish, manure, or other objective waste other than provided or authorized by law. 18. Water other than that used by irrigation, industrial, or singular system for non-possible purposes that is sold to the public, distributed to the public, or used in products proceeding store, handling, serving, or transportation of food, drink, and otherwise emissions, gases, health hazard, operation, environmental liability, direct response, within 15 feet of receptive, a person fails to refuse to comply to the order or direct if the person whom the order is direct requests a hearing or fails to refuse to comply to cease and desist is served by a mail director the mail within a superior court, blah 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 violation retaining the person engaged in the action according to the judgment. Notwithstanding subsection 819 emissions of merchandise and products of persons in a new sentence, notwithstanding subsection 835 restaurants, you and sewage, blah blah blah. ADA, Arizona 5, acceptable accommodation. That would be intrusion or encroachment. Public accommodations in commercial facility. Title III prohibit discrimination on basis of disability in the activities of places. Public accommodations, businesses that are generally open to the public. Title III. What does the ADA mean? Public accommodation, commercial facilities. Three prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability in the activities of places of public accommodations, businesses that are generally open to the public and that fall into one of the 12 categories listed in the ADA, such as restaurants, movie theaters, schools, daycare facilities, recreation facilities, and doctors' offices are required newly construction and altered places with public accommodations, as well as commercial facilities probably on residential, such as factory work, and the Title III regulations revised Final 3 Chapel Rule compliance regulatory guidance and non-discriminatory basis disability of public accommodation commercial and the document contains supplementary one information preliminary revised regulation of Title 3 regulation updated reflects 2010 revision of the technical correction published 2011 of March 11th, which became effective 2011 March 15. Guidance of the revised regulation provides the Title 4 5 and 4 guidance of the original 91. Non-discrimination based on public accommodation commercial. Standard 4 accessible design, technical requirement, construction, alteration, the use of removing accessible barriers in existing places of public accommodations when doing so is really archivable guidance. Guidance here, there's an outreach title civil rights. What does this got to do with anything? Civil Rights Division, Civil Rights Advocacy, 12 Civil Rights Division, in terms, vacancy, organization, doing compensation, power and duty divisions, rights to examine a copy of evidence, summons witnesses, documents, taking testimony, rights to counsel, court aid process, service return fee, and witnesses. Can it goes down like mine, claims on no disability, reasonable accommodations or reasonable modifications not required under certain conditions, voting rights definition, public accommodation definition. Can I get it? In this article, unless the context otherwise required, persons means an individual, corporation, partner, unincorporated association, or an organization, and includes the owner, lessee, operator, proprietor, manager, superintendent, agent, and employee of any place of public accommodations. But hold on, what if it's like, we ain't fucking you, we don't want to see you around? The last time I had my MRI and shit, never had another MRI after that. Place of public accommodations mean all public places of entertainment, amusement, or recreation, or public places where food or beverages are sold and consumption is on the premises, all public places where all conduct for the lodging or tenant of the benefits, use of public accommodation for those health records. Can't use me, all establishment, catered offices, service facilities, goods. Any dwelling as defined in section 41, 1491, or any private club or any place which is in the nature of distinctly private is not a place of public accommodations. Breastfeeding in public, discrimination in places of public accommodation. How do you know if it was discrimination in a place of public accommodation against any person because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, or ancestry is contrary to the policy of this state and shall be deemed unlawful. No person directly or indirectly shall refuse to withhold from or deny any person nor aid in the incite the refusal to deny or withhold accommodations, advantages, facilities or privileges thereof because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, or ancestry, nor shall distinction be made with respect to any person based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, or ancestry in connection with the price of quality of any item, goods, services offered by or at any place of public accommodation. Any person who is under, hold on, let's see if it has something to do with race. Shake it on them. Well, you know how it's gonna go. One, two, up. Person who is under the influence of alcohol, narcotics, who is guilty of voyeurism conduct, who is a lewd or immoral character, who is physically violent or whose violence, who violates any regulations of any public accommodation that applies to all persons regardless of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, ancestry, may be excluded from any place of public accommodation and not in this article shall be considered a limit the rights of such exclusion. Sort of like you can't be walking out on a public sidewalk. But who are you going to sue? What is this motherfucking group's name, right? Notwithstanding any person provision of article except required by federal law is not unlawful practice if a person fails to provide a trained and compliant bilingual person who is skilled in interpretation of language and use assistance of a person who is seeking services of public accommodation. What do you know about her? Notwithstanding any other provision of the article and except of the moisture as required by federal law. A person who offers the services at a place of public accommodation is not required to provide a person who is seeking the service any or other documentations in that person's native language. So I just need another language, huh? It is not an unlawful practice pursuant to this section for the person to fail to provide services at a place of public accommodation if by providing the services the person offers the services would violate the state and federal laws or rules that is adopted by the state or federal board, commission, or agencies that have jurisdiction over the person offering the services. I'm glad I started reading. Discrimination on employees. Why is y'all shouldn't be there? Charged by person, aggrieved, investigation. Whoa. So I gotta get this process started. Sounds interesting. It took its time too. Oh my God, somebody's reading in it. Any person referred to as a charging party claiming by aggrieved, aggrieved by alleged discriminatory practices or act contrary to Article 2 or 3 of this chapter made within 180 days from the date of the alleged practice or act filed with the division of various charges in writing. The various charges shall state the name and address of the person referred to and the respondents alleged to have committed the practice or act complained of the particular allegation, discrimination, or other information required by the division. After a charge is filed and found to be be in proper order, the division shall make an investigation of the allegation contained in the charge. On its initiative, the division may file a charge to investigate an alleged discriminatory practice or act. If upon investigation the division determines that no unlawful discriminatory practices or act has occurred, which would usually happen in my case, the division shall notify the charging party in response to the writing. It'll be like, oh yeah, get out of here, N-word. He was like, oh yeah, sorry sir, there's nothing to happen. Yeah, he called you an N-word. That's crazy. It's like, man, I wish I knew who you was. And he's like, hey, I'm right here. And he's like, I'm not trying to run for nothing right now. As in the police and shit. The division shall notify the charges and respondent to the writing and the facts of the charges party within 30 days after filing a complaint with the Superior Court in the courts where alleged discrimination practice or acts occur. If after an investigation the division determines that there is reasonable cause to believe that the charges is true, then the division shall enter an order containing the finding of the facts and shall endeavor an element that alleged unlawful practices by informal methods of conference, conciliation, and persuasion, not said or done during and as part of the informal endeavor may be a public division officer employer uses evidence to exclude the new 30 days. We go. Damages, presumably enforcement procedure, discrimination, following charge of education, record keeping, prevention of records, records division, furnishing information or government to agency information. 1482. 1482. Every employer, employee, agency, and labor organization subject to Title 4 of this chapter shall make and keep records relevant to the determination of whether unlawful employment employee practices have been or are being committed, preserve such records for such periods, and make such reports therefore as the division shall prescribe by the regulatory regulations or order. Any public hearing as reasonable, necessary, or appropriate in the enforcement of the article compliance with the reports, record keeping regulation, employees, and all this other stuff. Labor management including application in this section resulting in due hardship, applying the division exempt and such denied civil action. Birth for you in the court should be all criminal. Boom. I'm just saying that. Fair housing, huh? Let's see what the definition of 1491 is. Wow, it took its time again. This article, unless otherwise required, a greater person, including the person other than claiming is injured in discriminatory house practice, believes that he or her has been injured by discriminatory housing practice that has occurred. In complaints, meaning the person, including the Attorney General, filing the complaint under Section 1491. Conciliation means attempting to resolve an issue raised by a complainant by investigating the complaint through a formal negotiation involving an aggregated uh, aggrieved person in response to the term. Why do I smell like jail? Conciliation agreement means a written agreement setting forth a resolution. Disability means any mental or physical impairment that substantially limits one person's major life activity. A record of such impairment or being regarded such as impairment disability does not include current legal use of addiction to any other drug or legal federally controlled substance. Disability shall be defined and construed as terms defined and construed as the Americans with Disability Act of 1990. Discriminatory housing practice means an act prohibiting by 1441, 1491. 14, dwelling, meaning either any building structure or part of a building structure that occupies design intended to occupy as a resident, any vacant land or offers for sale or lease, construction, labor, or blah blah blah. Family, including a single family, a single individual. Person means one or more individuals, corporation, partnership, association, labor organization, legal representative, mutual companies, joint stock companies, trust, unincorporated organization, trustees, receivers, fiduciaries, whatever that means, bank, credit union, and financial institution. Respondent means either the person accused or of the violation in this article complained to the discriminatory housing practice. Any person identified in this addition to rent includes to lease, to sublease, to let or otherwise grant for a consideration the right to occupy permission not owned by the occupant. Discrimination due to familial status. I ain't even gonna read that one. No. A religious organization exempt selling. Religious organization and private club exemption. Oh, then you got to get called. That's what you're saying. Oh, just got to figure it out. So you got to go through you, go through you. Oh, This article does not prohibit any religious organization, association, or society or a nonprofit institutional organization operated, supervised, or controlled by, or in injunction or conjunction with the religion, organization, association, or social form. Limiting the sale, rental, or occupying a dwelling is that owned or operated for other than a commercial purposes to a person or the same religion. Giving preference to a person of the same religion unless members of the religion is restricted because of race, color, or national origin. The article does not prohibit a private club that is not open to the public and that as an incident to a primary proposed to its primary proposed provide lodging that is owned and operated by other commercial members who want to give it up and do the boutique. Boom. That's what it said. That's what I read. Huh? Effects on other laws. Can you explain how this is it would affect on other laws since that is the title of the paragraph? The article does not affect a reasonable local or state restriction on the maximum number of occupants permitted to occupy the dwelling or restriction relating to health or safety standards. This article does not affect the requirement of non-discrimination on any state or federal law. Nothing in this article prohibits cities or towns with a population of 350,000 or more persons, according to the 1990 United States Decennial Census, from acting ordinance not later than January 1st, 1995, that also substantially equivalent to the provisions of federal law articles. Right, I'm not your slave. Mission by the Attorney General. Why am I reading? Why is it last version? Attorney General shall administer. The Attorney General may adopt initiative. Oh, here, article. Complaints. What is complaints about? If it was just easy with a push of a button. Did you hear that? Yes, I did. Boom. The Attorney General shall receive, investigate, seek, and conciliate the act of complaints, allegation, violations of this article. Of course, cooperation with the entities, subpoena, discovery, referral to the city or town, discrimination in sales or rental, publication of sales or rental, inspection of dwelling, enter into a neighborhood, prohibition of intimidation, prohibition of intimidation, discrimination due to disability, residential real estate, brokerage service complaints, answer complaints. Let me see what this says. A person may not coerce, intimidate, threaten, or interfere with any person in the exercise or enjoyment of, or having exercised or enjoyed, or an account of having aided or encouraging any other person to exercise or enjoy of any rights granted or protected by this section. Okay, that sounded good. And then that was a court paper. Bam. Discriminatory due to disability. A person may discriminate in the sales or rental, otherwise make unavailable or deny a dwelling to any buyer or renter because of a disability. A person may not owe that a buyer or renter, a person residing in or intending to reside in the dwelling after it is sold, rented, or made, a person associated with the buyer or renter. A person may not discriminate against any person in the terms, condition, or privilege of sale or rental of a dwelling, or in the provisions of service or facility in connections with the dwelling because of a disability. That person, a person resides or intending to reside in the dwelling after it's sold, rented, or made available. Okay. Person may not discriminate on a person associated with that person. Nothing okay here. Oh, answer a complaint, conciliation, preliminary victim, civil action, court appointed term, superior. Oh. Public accommodations and services. Back to what I was looking for in the first place. Free exercise of religion. What? What is this? In this article, unless otherwise contextual, demonstrating the means the burden of the fur hand of the evidence, exercising religion means the ability to act or refuse to act in a manner substantially motivated by a religious belief, whether or not the exercise of compulsory or central to all larger systems of religion, government including the state and any agency or political subdivision of the state, non-religious assembly or institution, including member organization, theater, cultural centers, dance hall, fraternal orders, amphitheaters of in place of public assemblies, regardless of size, that the government or political subdivision is allowed to meet in a zoning district by code or ordinance of practice. Person includes a religious assembly or institution. Political subdivision, including any city, including chapter town, whatever that is. Regional nutrient zone, neutralization of the zone. There we go. Take that shit away too. Cancellation of a contract pursuant to 3850 something 11. Like, well, you know, I did file the complaint. Cancellation, no, no, you didn't. You just said it. Oh, that's still a complaint. In a contract with the state political subdivision department agency, either a part subject to cancellation pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute ARS section subsection or sections 38, 51, 511, if within 3 years after the contract execution a person is significantly involved in negotiation or drafting a contract, voting rights, accommodations, an example. Example, discriminatory unlawful practices. Wow. Sounds good. Nothing contained in this article shall be interpreted or required that the less comply with the term for the religions, but to have race, color, religion, and sex, the right age or national origin, or on the basis of disability. It is an unlawful employment practice. it, to fail or refuse to hire or to discharge any individual, otherwise to discriminate against the individual with respect to the individual's compensation terms for applicants for employees in any way which would deprive or tend to deprive any individual employee opportunity, blah, 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 age, sex, blah. Failure to refuse to hire or discharge somebody discriminating. Well, good thing we didn't read this one. Interpretation of disability, substantial limitation, essential job functions, enforcement procedure, discrimination, voting price, filing charges, investigations. Hmm. You were right there. Didn't you rape her afterwards? It's all on there in the back end. Of course, when you complain to IC3, hey, what about the other one from January the 7th? Somebody was shooting. Pop, 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 pop. No, I was saying. Of a crime. Did somebody just sign on? Look at my videos. Which one? I was shitting bricks. Use. That sound like that spirit box shit. There's a car. Am I outside? Seems like somebody's outside banging. Hmm. Yeah, I wish she was dead too. Chester Chester.
I'm gonna be real quick with this. So I'm walking back and shit, and I'm busting a rap and shit. Then all of a sudden, I get over here by this parking shit. Now my ass been perfectly fine and shit, and I guess they tried it beforehand and didn't come up close, cause then all of a sudden it felt like I had one of them airsoft pellets that have paint in it and glass shards, and I started tripping. Park I was sitting at one time, and in the past everybody got that perfectly clear. And then you need to check the penitentiary for who is there and who got jabbed or worse, executed in the military or whatnot. Notice these Canadians are still here, don't give a fuck doing that shit they want. It's a shame. Hey, during the truces thing, they felt bad for the older ones who claim to be the OGs and shit, and they ain't dead. And then all of a sudden, here comes some old bastards that's claiming, and then they want to use me as the catalyst, as if I was like, hey, yeah, you have the right to do this. Right, like Southern food, you gonna get in trouble for it. It was like, nah, you wasn't there in Cali, you didn't understand. Went over here, purple everything. Right, before the FBI crap.
Right, ain't that crazy how they like you ain't getting no booty hole, but then they like, ooh, flip the script on you years later. Hey, this booty hole seemed that came from your scrotums, and we just did lewd and lascivious shit to make them grow. Hopefully they was all virgins and decided to lose the virginity. It was like, we want your balls to be all right, cause we're gonna date them. Ain't you a little bit too fucking old, you punk bastard? Oh, you ain't got to be sorry, man. I ain't from your country. I was kidnapped to your country. Remember that. I ain't got to understand y'all for shit. I don't give a shit about how y'all feel. I also know, hey, your rules out there seem to be word is bond, and y'all out here going to ham. You notice when you take that shit out there, you gonna get hurt. Try to get that shit out your system. Oh, be out here kicking it. Yeah, I got the right to say whatever I want when I want. It's always machine gun. Hey, that was the choice, or it's rape, statutory rape, gangster party rape. Oh,
Here we go.
I ain't getting
That's in
caught
the
for this.
background. Here
Slap.
we go. Uh,
Oh yeah, there is. If the majority of the people trying to get you to do this shit is LGBTQs, oh, They're gonna have one of their partners that's been in there for the longest try to lean on you. You don't know that. That ain't true. Hey, that ain't true. Hey, we're saying the police and you don't have the right for a public accommodation. You can't walk on the sidewalk. You can't go here, but why is they here? With a zero. Whoa. Now that's why I started recording. You stressed too, huh? Hey, hey, hey. Mind your fucking business, man. Shit.